everyone, welcome back to the 5th episode of the StriveX Podcast. It's crazy, we're already 5 episodes in the span of 2 months. I'm the founder of StriveX Academy and StriveX Podcast, Arjun Verma, and this is the boring founder,
Shaurya Sharma.
So today, we are going to be talking about self-driving cars. So this is a new phenomenon that has occurred in the manufacturing and car industry, and it's very new and not a lot of people know much about it. So today, we are here to tell you the background, the pros and cons, and whether it is the future or not. So, without further ado, let's get started and head on to Shaurya to discuss the background of self-driving cars and how it came to be in the first place.
So, self-driving cars have been around for a while. It's not a complete new topic. However, throughout these last couple decades, and specifically after 2000 and forward, self-driving cars has definitely taken a turn, and only for the better. So, let's just start going through the background. A new phenomenon is occurring, one that is a direct result of the technological inventions that are being created. Though, for quite a while, self-driving cars were only a distant dream. However, the idea of machine learning and artificial intelligence are truly changing the perspective of how cars revolutionize. Right now, the buzz around self-driving cars is mostly hovering around the company Tesla, which aspires to represent the future of driving. However, Tesla is not the founding creator of this innovation and certainly cannot take credit for this miracle system. Though a lot of people know self-driving because of Tesla, and agree, Tesla has revolutionized the car industry quite a bit, but self-driving cars is not originated from Tesla. Beginning in 1939, it is said that the World's Fair, General Motors, created the first self-driving cars. Now you might be thinking, 1939, there's no way they had the technological inventions such as machine learning and artificial intelligence to be able to come up with it. Well, you're right, they didn't code the artificial intelligence, they did something more practical, and it's actually quite genius-like. While it did not utilize the various frameworks to technologically innovate such a system, it used radio-controlled electromagnetic fields and operated from magnetized metal spikes embedded in the roadway. This is actually such a genius approach that they did, so they did it more naturally rather than using the technology that's been invented. However, it was not until later that the technological aspect of self-driving cars took place and changed the overall idea about the future of cars. Personally, I have a lot of thoughts on this matter, and some of them are positive and some of them are negative. However, let's give a little bit of background before getting into this. These vehicles use sensors to be able to sense the environment around them and create a model about where everything is. This model can be really useful in detecting what's around them and be able to create a map to really execute the self-driving mechanism. The sensors used are typically called radar and LiDAR. Radar mainly operates off of sending radio waves to construct various models of its surroundings, and LiDAR uses a similar mechanism, only instead of radio waves, it uses light waves. Now, LiDAR is a little more expensive, but it's able to capture more details in comparison to radar. These light waves would be able to fill in the details that radar sensor missed. Though it seems that these sensors have the abilities to make self-driving efficient and reliable, it would not be surprised that the accuracy still remains less than 100%, causing it to still be unreliable. Keep this in mind. You could argue that this is the same for every technological invention, but that's the point. Technology can never be 100% accurate. Never. There will always be bugs. There could be a short circuit. There could be various reasons as to why it's not reliable. People are valuable. So to be able to jeopardize their lives with self-driving cars and be able to put such faith in self-driving cars is not really optimal, and it's not really the best solution. In fact, it is quite important to note that the accuracy rate is, though at 95%, anything can happen at any given moment, which can be quite scary at times. Think about it. We're pretty much giving an AI-based vehicle the power of life or death over us all. That's scary. However, it is important to realize the positive that this brings us, and we can efficiently and effectively remove all human requirements in driving with the help of self-driving vehicles. That's something to think about. Though before getting into the future of these inventions and how they will revolutionize the future, it's important to get into the positive and negatives and their impact on society. Now, before even getting into these positives and negatives and the flip side of them, I want to talk about common terms that will be used throughout, mostly, at least as far as the future holds, common terms that are used in self-driving or cars in general. So there's 6 levels to this. There's level 0. Most cars on the road today fall under this category. Level 0 means a driver has to operate on everything like gas, braking, steering, etc. Then we have level 1. Only one axis of the vehicle is automated, either speed or direction. Examples are cruise control or auto steer, not both. Adaptive cruise control the car keeps itself a safe distance from the vehicle in front, also falls under this category since it only controls the accelerator. Level 2. The vehicle control both the speed and direction of the car. An important indication of level 2 is that a human driver has to be behind the wheel at all times. The very popular brand, the Tesla Autopilot, falls under this category. Level 3 and level 2 are very similar from a driver's perspective, but requires a big leap in the technology required. On top of controlling the speed and the direction, they have to be capable of making decisions. For example, a level 2 car would require a human operator to take control or take over if the vehicle in front starts to deaccelerate. However, a level 3 car would be able to merge onto another lane to go past the slowing car. Though minor change in the driver's perspective, it's a huge trend overall in the field of self-driving cars. Now, level 4. Level 4 vehicles are capable of handling unexpected traffic conditions and system failures. These autonomous vehicles are capable of full self-drive without human intervening. However, a caveat for level 4 vehicles is that humans are still required in the cabin of the car due to laws, infrastructure, etc. Now, level 5, the topmost level. The highest level of self-driving. These vehicles will not have a steering wheel or pedals since they are capable of handling all the road conditions and do not need human interference ever. Now, this is what I'll get to talk about later in the future because this is something that will inevitably achieve, but it's something to keep in mind that we are merging into a society where we're about to put in a law of trust into a level 5 vehicle, which it's still technological. It can have bugs, it can have failures, and we are about to put all of this faith into removing the wheel. So if a human is in a moment of distress, they cannot do anything. Now, let's move on to the positive and negatives, and let's try to make a judgment to see whether or not the positives outweigh the negatives.
So with what Shaurya said, what are the positives of self-driving cars? Well, self-driving cars have the capability to completely revolutionize driving as we know it today, with companies such as Tesla being the first prominent car manufacturers to focus on the implementation on self-driving cars such as autopilot, like Shaurya said. One of the main perks of autopilot and self-driving overall is that you do not need to be perfect at driving, and you can essentially let the robot take over for you. However, since self-driving is at its early stages at the moment, not every car has access to self-driving capabilities, so the robot still has to take into account human error, which can be inaccurate, and the robot essentially has to learn the next move the human will make before the said human actually makes the said move. However, in a world full of self-driving cars, there's no need to account for human error anymore. Of the 37,133 vehicle fatalities in 2017, 94% of the crashes were due to human error. Computers based on sophisticated systems and algorithms will essentially eliminate costly human error. Major causes of accidents, including drunk or distracted driving, will not be factors with self-driving cars. It's estimated self-driving cars can reduce accidents by up to 90%. The robots can essentially learn from one another, and the AIs can essentially talk to each other, making the road a safer place overall. This can especially come in handy during drunk driving, as the car can guide you home, and the human does not have to make any movement at all. This can be cost efficient, as let's say human error causes an accident. With self-driving cars, accidents are reduced, and therefore all causes related to the accident are reduced as well. Reports have shown that autonomous vehicles can help save society approximately $800 billion each year. The reduction in car crash related costs, reduced strain on the healthcare system, more efficient transportation, better fuel savings, and more can all contribute to the overall societal cost savings. It's also efficient when it comes to time as well. With the ability to communicate in real time, cars would be able to travel efficiently at optimized distances from one another. They'd also determine the best route for you to take as to eliminate bumper-to-bumper traffic jams automatically, so you don't need to worry if you didn't get off on the exit you desired or you missed it entirely. Of course, getting off on the wrong exit / missing it entirely is by human error. Human error can cause accidents, small or large. But what if you were not experienced at driving? What if you were too scared to drive due to the fact that you may cause an accident on the road? Well, statistically it is shown that 1 in 23 drivers have an accident on the road, which is pretty common if you ask me. So, self-driving is here to reduce that number down to 0, or at least it hopes. For those who cannot or choose not to drive, self-driving cars could be a safe and reliable mode of transportation. Those with a disability or the elderly would be able to get into a self-driving car without putting others at risk. Speaking of people who choose not to drive, self-driving cars can also help the public transit system. Cities with limited public transit coverage would also benefit from self-driving cars. Self-driving cars can easily reach areas where infrastructure is lacking, making it accessible for the poor to get around from place to place if cities decide to implement a self-driving system without the need of hiring drivers at all. Lastly, self-driving cars are beneficial overall for the environment. Autonomous cars will likely be electric rather than utilizing internal combustion engines. Furthermore, the consistent speeds self-driving cars will be traveling at will reduce constant braking and accelerating. These factors will all contribute to reducing emissions and becoming more environmentally sustainable. With all these factors in mind, what are the downsides to self-driving? Let's get into that right now. With all the positives being out the way, let's talk about the downsides of self-driving. With all cars being centered around technology and electric instead of gasoline, there is bound to be some vulnerabilities in the self-driving system. First of all, self-driving cars are very vulnerable to hacking. To have automated cars talk and coordinate with one another, they would need to share the same network protocol. If a large number of cars share the same network, however, they would be susceptible to a hack. Even a small hack could wreak significant damage on busy roads by causing collisions and gridlock traffic. Just recently, multiple records have come out showcasing how Teslas are able to be hacked remotely, with a 19-year-old hacking over 25 Teslas due to a bug. These cars are able to start, stop, and drive off remotely, and an NFC card can be used to remotely unlock your Tesla without a key, also showing the vulnerabilities of Tesla's system as a whole. Speaking of cars driving remotely by themselves, this also poses a major risk for companies such as Uber and Lyft. As Lyft develops their own Lyft autonomous driving program, those who depend on driving to make a living may find their career obsolete in the future with the introduction of self-driving cars. Those in the trucking industry, bus drivers, taxi drivers will all need to find a new employment. Fast food delivery and Uber drivers would also find themselves replaced by automated cars. Uber has currently given up on the self-driving dream, but who knows what they may do in the future as technology is evolving rapidly every single day. While self-driving cars may produce significant societal cost savings in the long term, the initial costs of automated vehicles may be astronomical. Some experts estimate it could cost an additional $250,000 to own a fully autonomous vehicle. Of course, as new technology matures, costs should come down. In the early stages, however, the barrier to entry may be too high for the general population. With the Tesla, for example, in order to gain access to their full autopilot feature set, you must put down a $12,000 payment just to unlock it in your car. Though your car is already equipped with the software needed to run autopilot, it's hidden behind a paywall, which is completely stupid if you ask me. If you pay $250,000 for a vehicle, you should expect it to come with all features necessary. Also, even when you do buy the $12,000 autopilot feature set, you still have to go through a list of checks to make sure you are qualified to use autopilot. Of course, right now, autopilot is not perfect. Sometimes it can mess up and put you in danger. That is why the car wants to make sure that in case of an accident like this, the driver is able to take over the car and make sure that they're able to prevent the accident. You must still stay alert. Keep your hands on the steering wheel at all times and maintain control of your car. And failure to do any of this will lock autopilot for that trip. Even when humans may have the ability to navigate away from sticky situations, the Tesla autopilot may not. Another one of the disadvantages of self-driving cars is their lack of ability to make judgments between multiple unfavorable outcomes. For example, what if a self-driving car had to face a situation with only two possible options? Veering to the left and striking a pedestrian, or veering to the right and hitting a tree, potentially injuring passengers inside your vehicle. Since both options are undesirable, which option would the autonomous car choose? the Moral Machine, developed by a group at MIT, is seeking to address this issue by collecting data on real-life people's decisions. However, the data collected shows broad differences amongst different people groups, making it difficult to program any definitive answer for autonomous cars. Machine error must also be taken into consideration when examining the pros and cons of driverless cars, like how I'm doing right now. While most agree self-driving cars will likely prevent more accidents from happening, it does not completely eliminate the risk of accidents caused by machine error. Furthermore, if the software or any part of the vehicle fails, an autonomous vehicle could put the driver in more danger than if the driver was to personally take control of the vehicle. So there you have it, the pros and cons of self-driving cars and autopilot as a whole. With all the pros and cons being listed, what will the future look like? Let's take it to Shaurya to discuss that one.
Now for the future. Self-driving cars will only increase throughout the years, as it is technology that everyone is attempting to research in. Research for self-driving cars originated in the 1980s and have only expanded since. Since the last decade, there has been a 78% increase in self-driving cars on the road acquiring the level 2 skill set. As we did talk about earlier, a level 2 vehicle can control both the speed and the direction of the car. An important indication of level 2 is that the human driver has to be behind the wheel at all times. The Tesla autopilot falls under this category, as said before. On the road, we have seen about 11.2 million vehicles sold in 2 years. That is quite impressive. 11.2 million vehicles. And this level 2 vehicles is exactly how it should be. We should rely on this technology, but we ourselves should stay behind the wheel. But that's not the way technology is going to move. It is unfathomable as to the level we have reached and what we have all accomplished. However, we are nearly there yet. The idea of AI and self-driving increases its capabilities yearly and causes that there be more advancements the more time goes on. In fact, just in May 22, Elon Musk publicly announced that nearing 2023, we will no longer need anyone behind the wheel. Currently, self-driving is operational as long as there is human assistance. The current concept keeps a safety precaution due to the fact that we are not leaving the computer to do all the work. We constantly have to interfere. Now, there's a statistic that is quite mind-blowing, but also proves as to why we cannot get rid of the level 2 and cannot advance all the way to level 5. There were nearly 273 crashes, and almost 70% of these crashes were advised to stay alert at all times and be ready to take the wheel when needed. Many rely on these systems with such trust that they believe that they will not fail, but they need to keep in mind that these systems are computer automated. They may fail. There is no guarantee that they will hold. And now we'll move on to how technology is moving and as to why level 5 might just be scary. The current concept keeps a safety precaution due to the fact that we are not leaving the computer to do all the work. However, this new concept will lead to a new trust system in place, forcing us to trust the computer a lot more. With the way technology is moving, our current innovators are attempting to reach level 5, which is the topmost level. Now, let's not get me wrong. I actually love technology. I love the way technology is moving, and I love the advancements that come with that. However, we also have to think about this ethically and think about this about our own safety. We can't trust a computer to do everything and not let us interfere when needed. That means we're pretty much restricted to the fact that if we want to save ourselves, we physically can't, unless they come up with the mechanisms to be able to stop the car. But even then, there's still a lot of problems coming in that road. I personally see that we have to have some sort of override to be able to control this car and be able to save ourselves in case of an emergency. As said before, level 5 will completely eliminate the human interference and need entirely. Regardless of the way technology is moving, it will never be fully reliable. There will always be bugs, and we can never 100% trust it. It will always fail in one way or the other. It will always have a simple malfunction in the system or a bug. However, the future will continuously keep updating this technology, make it more and more advanced the more years go on, and only time can tell as to how technology will move and how the car industry will grow exponentially as well.
So there you have it, all the information you need about self-driving cars, the background, the pros and cons, and what the future holds as well. I just want to give a quick thank you to our team for assisting in the production of this episode, and thank you to Hack Club for powering our nonprofit and backing us up in the making of this as well. Thank you to all the supporters for listening, watching, however you're listening to this. Make sure you follow or subscribe to get notified every time we make a new podcast episode. Thank you for listening. All our socials are in the description below. Thank you to everyone listening and tuning in again. And thank you for all the support in the last 5 episodes. We truly appreciate it. Thank you. Again, this is the founder of StriveX Academy and StriveX Podcast, Arjun Verma. And this is the founder, Shaurya Sharma. And we want to say thank you again. Goodbye.
Thank you.